want sex or do you want love? You probably thinking you want both. So you gave him some booty. I'm sorry. You had sexual intercourse. All right. And you're wondering, did you do it too soon? You're wondering, was it the right decision? You're wondering, what is now going to come from this? That doesn't mean that every guy only wants you for sex. The thing is, how do you know? How can you tell the difference between the guy who's genuine and the guy who only wants you to be intimate with him? Well, I'm going to break that down for you. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about sex, right? Now, let me make clear right off the bat, this is not me telling you whether you should have sex with him, okay? This is not me speaking to the moral compass of sex, especially as a believer, and I am a man of God, so, you know, that plays into my thinking. However, I understand that even though we can talk about how waiting till marriage is the way that God intends it, we have to accept that or realize people are having sex. I understand that. I accept that. So with that, we need to be able to talk about these things. We got to talk about it within the dynamic of how people are going to approaching relationships and dating, so to speak. And so a lot of women are engaging in sexual activity, have engaged, or may find themselves in that position. And we want to talk about, did you have sex with him too soon? Now, this may be about what you're going to face or what you already faced. But let's get to it and break this whole thing down. So right off the bat, the first thing to ask yourself is, do you want fun or do you want love? So listen, before we can understand if you had sex too soon with a man, we have to understand what is your true core desire overall. Now, some of you might say, why can't it be both? Why can't I want love but still want fun? You know, and technically, yes, you can do both, so to speak, but understand that one can undermine the other. And trying to have fun can derail you from finding love, because a lot of times that quote unquote fun creates attachment to individuals that you don't need to be dealing with. I always say a lot of people have not let go of someone they should have let go of a long time ago because of sex. Because it creates that attachment, or what some may see as a soul tie. One way or another, it now not locks, but it does, yeah, in some situations, locks people into your life, because let's say it turns into having a child with them that now are going to wreak havoc in your life. That are now going to make it harder for you to be able to find that real love, as well as that situation that you get involved with can cause a lot of damage. So it's not that it's impossible, that no one has ever survived having sexual relations with someone and then moving on to finding love. It is possible, but you've got to understand what you can handle. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more, but also what the whole situation entails, you know, what comes along with this person that you're going to be dealing with and this dynamic that you're entering into. There's a lot to think about. And then the problem is, when we're trying to have fun, we're not always considering all these things. We're not considering the pitfalls. We're not considering the damage that can come. We're just considering how we're feeling in the moment and how we want to meet our needs or desires at that moment. But that moment can turn into a lifetime of pain. So you got to understand that. But getting back to the original point, do you want love or do you want a relationship? So aside from all those things I just mentioned, if you just want fun, then it kind of eliminates the whole too soon issue. There's still some things to consider that we're going to talk about, but it's not as relevant as if you do want a relationship, especially if you want a relationship with that specific man. Because there's one thing to want a relationship in general, to want love in general, but in the meantime, you're allowing yourself to engage sexually. It's another thing when what you actually want from this man is a relationship, but now you are settling for, or you are allowing yourself to engage in a sexual relationship hoping for more. And this is where it gets more dangerous. And this is where I would say this. If you want a relationship with this man, or you see potential with this man, it would be best to wait. It doesn't mean it's impossible for it to happen very quickly and things to work out. And I'm going to really shed more light on that at the end of this video. We're going to talk about specifically, can a relationship still happen after having sex, quote unquote, too soon? But the point is, by not waiting and not doing the due diligence that I'm going to lay out for you as we go along in this video, you're going to make it harder for yourself. Not impossible, but a lot harder. So when we ask ourselves, what do we want, especially with this specific individual, we then have to ask ourselves, okay, what gives us the best chance to achieve that? And so sex too soon, and I'll lay out for you what those too soon markers are, is definitely something that you have to pay even more attention to, all right? But again, the first question is, do you want fun or do you want a relationship? Now, the second thing to ask yourself, all right, is can you handle this emotionally? So here's the reality. Some people want to put it out there that men and women are the same and that women want sex just as much as men. I argue that is completely untrue. And the reality is that we are simply wired differently. And though there are women who could want sex as much as a man or like a man, that does exist. In the general population on average, no, women are not, their libido isn't as high as the guy. Their desire for sex isn't as high. What a lot of women truly desire is intimacy, all right? So and unfortunately, because receiving intimacy for a lot of women has had to go through the pathway of having sex, many have combined the two. So many look at sex and intimacy as the same, but it's not. So to make it even clearer, I break it down like this. If there was door number one, which was hugs, kisses, caresses, just pure intimacy, deep conversations, all that stuff, right? And then door number two is just raw sex, just slapping cheeks, whatever you want to call it, all right? Just getting down with the business, that's it, okay? Which door are you going to take? And if we surveyed women, the majority would take door number one, intimacy. And I would argue the majority of men, not all men, same way not all women, would choose door number two. So it shows there's a very huge difference. Now, why this pours into can you handle this emotionally? Because we are wired differently, we also have to understand that as a woman, your emotional side or your emotional wiring is a huge component to how you engage in sex, what you take away from that experience, even your receptiveness to it, and things of that nature. And with that, a lot of women, if they're honest with themselves, struggle to have sex without getting caught up emotionally. All right. And that's nothing to be ashamed of or to be mad about. Because I see so many women try to deny that part of them, thinking that they can handle these casual sexual relationships, continuously falling on their face because they simply can't handle it. You're just not built that way. And that's okay. You don't have to be. Accept it for what it is. Again, you may meet a woman who says, yo, it's not a problem for her. Cool, that's her. That's not you. Now, if it is you, that's a whole other story. But whatever it is, be true to who you are. And so what I've also noticed with a lot of women, even some of the ones who say they can't handle it, and again, there's always exceptions to every rule. But what I have seen is that the majority of women, if not damn near all, they don't actually learn how not to catch feelings when having sex. They learn who they can have sex with and not catch feelings for. So essentially, they understand, okay, this guy, I don't view him as a guy I want to be with. I don't view him as someone I want to build a life with. So I can have fun with him and not get caught up because I don't value him for anything past what he can bring to the table physically. But if they see that man as someone they can actually be with and desire long term, that's where it gets tricky. That's where a lot of women do get caught up. And so you got to stop yourself in the beginning and say, okay, if I'm going to do this, can I handle it? Can I handle whatever this is? Can I handle this without getting so caught up that this turns into a very unhealthy attachment? Which an unhealthy attachment will lead to more damage, will lead to, again, a cycle of negativity, and which will derail you in so many different ways. So when you are trying to ask yourself, did I have sex with him too soon? The question is about, can you handle it? Or could you have handled it? And if this is a situation that has already passed, how did you handle it? Let's learn from that. Let's understand, are you really capable of being able to lay down casually with a man without getting your feelings all caught up? Plain and simple. And again, understand when we say feelings, sometimes feelings aren't, it's not that you actually falling in love with this man, all right? But it may be this jealousy may arise. Let me backtrack. Let me not even say jealousy. The bottom line is emotions and feelings that draw you more to him, that get you attached to him. And I've seen women, even though we mentioned earlier about women learning who they can have sex with and not catch feelings for, even in some of those situations, women have ended up catching feelings or getting their emotions all caught up. So you really got to be real with yourself. There's a lot to dissect here, but the point is, listen, be honest and be real with yourself about what you can handle. Can you handle this emotionally? Because that's going to be a huge marker as far as what's too soon. So essentially, if you're going to move forward with sex with this person, you got to get to a place where if it's going to be in a casual setting, or before anything is commitment, any commitment has been set in this relationship, you got to make sure that emotionally you can handle that, because otherwise, then it's damn sure too soon. Now, number 3 is, do you understand what you're getting yourself into? So this encompasses a few things. This encompasses the whole knowing yourself enough to understand what you can handle emotionally, not getting caught up. This also means understanding, yes, are you aiming for love? Are you aiming for fun? But let's go beyond that. Also, do you know who the hell this man is? Do you know what you're engaging in with him? Now, I get it. Listen, when having quote unquote fun, there's, again, less evaluation being done. Let's keep it real. People meet each other. They're just caught up in the chemistry. They're caught up in the attraction. They're not worried about trying to evaluate the other individual. Not saying that's the right way or a good thing. It's just that's what tends to happen. But this is why people get caught up in a lot of messed up situations, because they end up laying down with someone who it can turn really messy with for various reasons. So you want to understand, you want to at least try to get as much information as you can with this guy so you understand who you are laying down with. But also not just about understanding who he is, where's his head at? What is he looking for? So we talked about, okay, do you want love or relationship, but what the hell does he want? Because you can want love all you want, but if this man's saying, I don't want a relationship, then we need to understand that. And if you're going to move forward with laying down with him, then please do not lay down with him with the expectation that your sex is going to get him to change his mind. And I say that because, listen, there's a lot of women out there who have moved forward thinking, if I put it on him the right way, okay, he is going to want to be in a committed relationship with me, and then end up sorely disappointed when that doesn't happen. So you've got to, one, don't set yourself up or play yourself in that manner. But again, understand, where is his head at? What is he actually looking for? Now, granted, you can never know 100% for sure. And there's going to be men who can claim one thing and mean something else. I get that. I can't hold it against you if he tells you, yes, let's say I'm looking for something more. I do see a potential relationship with you. And let me stop right there and say this. Sometimes he's not lying to you when he says that, even though it doesn't work out to be a relationship. I think women have to understand that the unfortunate reality is that you can meet a guy, he could come in seeing you as potential, thinking there might be something here, and I am willing to entertain the possibility of a relationship with this woman. And then somewhere along those lines, he figures, nah, this ain't gonna work. Nah, I don't really see her like that. But the unfortunate reality, and I say unfortunate for the woman, especially when your desire is for something more, is that a lot of times that guy still wants, you can call it the consolation prize of having sex with you. So now when it shifts to a sexual intention, you may say, well, he was always lying, that he was never serious. No, he was, but unfortunately things change. And yes, it would be best if the man would say what's going on, but that doesn't always happen. But let me also point this out, and it pains me a little bit to say because I know it's going to be rough for some of y'all, but I got to give y'all the truth. Sometimes things changed because you had the sex. Now listen, what I'm saying to you is this. There's two ways to look at that. One, there's the sex wasn't that good. Now, listen, I know that you may be thinking, nah, that's impossible. You got that good stuff. Listen, chill, okay? Understand that you could be, everyone could have the ability to be a good lover in bed, but that doesn't mean the partner that they lay down with, it's gonna connect in that experience, okay? That it's gonna end up being of quality, so to speak, or at least to that person's liking. And yes, when people are having sexual relations, they're going to use that in the evaluation of, do I want to move forward with this person? If they feel like that experience with you was subpar, that's going to play into it, which is another reason why when you ask yourself, am I having sex with him too soon? You have to ask yourself, am I at a place where I'm comfortable enough to bring my best to the table? I'm not saying this to put pressure on you as a woman, but I want to give you the reality of the situation. If you're going to lay down with him, understand that performance is going to be taken into account as far as if he wants to move forward with you. If you're laying down with him before you guys have gotten into a committed relationship, I would argue that once in a committed relationship, there may be more patience. There may be more of a grace period, because there's an argument to make that if he made a commitment to you first, that he likes you enough that he may try to work with you. But if he has not committed to you yet, if he has not established that desire for a relationship, no, forget that. If he hasn't committed to you yet, let's just go with that, and you have sex, then yes, there's less tolerance, all right? There's less reason for him to say, I'm going to stick around when the sex was not good, not good for him, not to his liking. So understand that, yes, somewhere along that path, he may change his mind because of, again, it may just be personality conflicts. It may be the sexual experience that throws things off. But this is why you want to make sure you understand what you're getting yourself into. And again, this is why you really got to start with that question of, do you want fun or do you want relationship? Do you want the experience, or are you trying to establish something more? Because that's going to lay down the foundation of how you need to move in this situation and if you are having sex with him too soon. All right, so let's move this along. We get to number 4. But before I mention number 4, quick plug, real quick. Listen, if you desire to get some coaching from me, if you desire to get some questions answered, you need some guidance, you need some help, you simply want to improve your overall life, join my special membership coaching program. Here is your chance. Click the link below or go to www.receivingmyblessings.com. You're going to get videos on healing, finding your purpose, meeting relationship-minded men, tapping into your feminine energy. You're going to do live Q&As with me twice a month. There is so much value that you're going to get from this program, so I want you to take advantage of it. Again, go to receivingmyblessings.com or click the link below. Now, let's move along. Number 4 on this list is, are you having sex with him because you want to or because you want him to like you? So this is a very important thing when determining when you need to move forward sexually in this relationship. If you're doing it because you simply want to, so be it. You are a grown woman. You are allowed to make that decision. And at least that way you understand that this is about your desire and you're not expecting anything out of this other than the experience. It's very important that you are simply going in for the experience. Because let me tell you, a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times when a man lays down with a woman, he's just focused on the experience. He's just focused on that moment, being able to have sex with this woman. That's it, which is why it's so much easier for that man to be able to walk away without being all emotionally attached, without being all caught up, because he wasn't expecting something more. He was just trying to enjoy the moment. Now, as a woman, you really got to ask yourself, am I doing this because I really want to? Now, or are you doing it because you want him to like you? So the other side is, yes, a lot of women lay down with that man, whatever point. It could be first date, could be first week, could be first couple months, whatever point. Because you're hoping this will help show you in a better light, or this will help I guess, gain more of his interest, that this will help lock him in, or as I mentioned earlier, the idea that you got the good stuff, so if you put it on him, that's going to make him give you that relationship that you actually desire. And the problem is, when you lay down with a man for the purpose of him to like you, or the purpose of trying to get a relationship out of him, it's a huge risk in setting yourself up for huge disappointment and a lot of damage. Because now, when you don't get what you want, you're going to feel like you've been cheated. You're going to feel like you've been used. You're going to feel devalued. You're going to have a lot of negative impact from the outcome being what you were, not being what you wanted it to be. All right? And so, again, this is why if you're the desirous for relationship, I would prefer that you get the relationship first. That way, at that point, if you lay down with him, you're already past getting what you wanted. And so now the sex can be just about you enjoying that individual. Because again, and let me just repeat, this is not about me saying this is how y'all should move as far as even having the sex in general, but it's about talking about the fact that how to best navigate when you are engaging sexually in dating and relationships. And so, yeah, like you just have to make sure you understand what your motive is. You understand what your intention is. And you don't go in with the wrong intention. I always tell women, like, listen, until you are okay with what's going to happen next, don't lay down with that man. You really got to get to a place where, listen, if we have sex and that's it, I'm good. Because I simply wanted the experience. I simply wanted to lay down with him. That's it. Rather than, well, I hope this gets me what I want. That's not a good approach to take. So now the next point, which I kind of ended the last point with, but I need to reiterate it, is are you going to be okay with what happens next? So again, it's all about why are you even doing this? Are you truly comfortable? Are you truly okay with this decision? I want you, listen, again, though even as women of God, those of you who are, right? Though there's a part of you that says, okay, you shouldn't do it. The reality is you may find yourself in a situation where you feel like you're going to kind of fall off path and you're going to do it, right? And again, in that moment, you got to be able to be okay with, well, if I make this decision to move forward sexually with this man, whether he calls me the next day or not, whether a relationship comes out of this or not, whether he likes me more or not, I'm okay because, again, as I mentioned the last point, because you wanted to do it. Because it was, whether you found it as a stress reliever, whether you just want to feed your lust, whatever it is, again, I'm not here to judge at the moment or at all, okay? I'm simply breaking this down to help those of you who are moving forward in this way. You got to make sure you're okay. And that's it. And that also goes back to being able to handle it emotionally. That goes back to, okay, understanding what you're dealing with overall. Because if you attach a certain aftermath or after effect to the experience, this is where so many women end up getting hurt so many times. And so again, it's just, I don't need to keep dwelling on it. The bottom line is you just got to be okay with what's going to happen next. And if you can be at peace at that point, all right, then you can make that decision all you want. And it's not a worry about, well, it's too soon or whatever. But just understand that's how it goes. Also, forgive me, but I forgot to mention this earlier when I said having sex with him can impact his desire to have a relationship with you. And I focused on the point of performance becoming now a part of the evaluation. But also the reality is that some men, I don't think all men, I won't even say most men, but I will say there are a good amount of men out there who will judge you, who will look at you different if you lay down with him too soon. All right. Now, what too soon is to that guy, it's hard to say. I think for a lot of men, if it's like, and I'm just giving a general example. A month in, I'm not really hearing men talking about, oh man, she slept with me a month in, she's a hoe. Like, I really haven't heard that one. All right. But first date, I've heard it. First week, I've heard it. You know, now again, I'm not saying every guy thinks like that. I'm not even going to say the majority of men right now think like that, but I will say a lot of them do. So please understand that, yes, that can, the timing of you laying down with him and the circumstances surrounding it can play into how now he will view you and can alter the path of the direction he was willing to go in with you. So it's something to be mindful, and which is why, like, I remember one time somebody said to me, he knows of, and this was a guy, he knows plenty of situations where women were basically disregarded as potential because they had sex too soon. But he doesn't know of any situation or sex, let's say on the first date, more specifically is what he said. But he doesn't know many men who disregard a woman because she waited a few weeks to have sex, or a month to have sex, or even a couple months to have sex. Well, let me say a couple months, because there are some guys. And again, let me also point out, it depends on what that man's intentions are. I think that if he is relationship minded, and of course he's more flexible with the time. If he's just looking for fun, then yeah, he may drop you after a week. He may drop you after that first date because that's all he wanted. So please consider that when we talk about the men who aren't willing to wait, understand what that underlying intention was for that guy to begin with. All right. Well, now let's get to that point that I made earlier that I said I was going to shed some more light on. And that is, can a relationship still happen when you have sex too soon? So now there's going to be some people that say, maybe they had sex on the first date and they end up married. And yes, that does happen. All right. But that isn't like the norm. That doesn't mean that's the right approach to take. Let me just make that clear. But when we're speaking to the question of can a relationship happen? Yes, it is still possible. But as I mentioned earlier, the things that we do can help increase the chances or decrease the chances. All right. And so in more cases than not, having sex too soon, and we're going to go with simply having sex before there's any, and let's keep it in the box of you actually wanting relationship. All right. Having sex too soon decreases, or it can negatively impact your chances of getting that. Simply because, again, it can blind you from being able to properly evaluate that man. Because that's the other thing about having sex too soon is like, okay, even if you can handle it emotionally, even if you just want to enjoy yourself for the moment or whatever, if there's any part of you that is looking or trying to evaluate this man for more as well, then you have to also ask yourself, can I properly evaluate him while still laying down with him at this point? Because sex can cloud people's judgment, bottom line. And it can make it very difficult for individuals to now properly understand who they should and should not deal with. Listen, there are plenty of people who have made excuses like, damn, he is toxic, but boy, is he good. Man, like, actually, scratch that. I don't like that line. There's a lot of people who will make excuses because, like, he may not treat you right all the time, but the sex is great. And unfortunately, that leads a lot of people to, again, overlooking the red flags and still holding on to this individual. So now your judgment is clouded because you are caught up. So getting back, but I kind of went off the rail there. Getting back to the point of, can a relationship happen? It can, but it does not hurt you to wait when the intention is actually for a relationship. It will only hurt you to wait and take time to evaluate when that guy is not serious about you. And I know there might be some guys that say, or even some women who say, well, listen, even the guy who wants a real relationship wants to be able to evaluate you sexually. I understand that. But I would argue that when you have two people and there's a real connection, and if you follow me and watch any of my videos, you know I'm all about genuine connection, that's what's needed to even move forward in a real relationship, in my opinion. When that exists, there's, again, a lot more willingness to be patient with each other. There's a lot more willingness to focus on the non-physical. in order to understand that we are for each other, or we want to be together. And so sex does not have to enter into the dynamic so soon when two people have a connection. It doesn't mean the desire won't be there, and it doesn't mean that sometimes even with connection, people end up sleeping with each other very fast. It's just that it's the connection to me that will then determine if you guys can still have a relationship or not. But again, sex can throw so many wrenches into the whole thing. So it's just mindful to wait as much as possible, to give yourself time to evaluate, to be on the same page, to make sure you're setting yourself up for what you truly desire, and you're making sure that you can handle getting physically invested, sexually invested in this individual. Now, one more thing. If you've already had sex too soon, let's say you're in a situation right now and you've already crossed that line, all right? I don't want you to beat yourself up about it. I don't want you to dwell on, oh my gosh, I made a mistake. Oh my gosh, what have I done? Because that's not going to be productive for you. It's not going to get you anywhere. And again, I'm not going to judge you. I understand that we're all human. We all, make decisions that maybe we regret or wish we would have done something differently. What you got to do now is move forward in honesty with that individual. You got to tell him how you're feeling. You got to tell him where your head is at. But I'm going to be real with you. It's difficult to allow sex to enter into the equation and then to pull it out. All right? That's going to be rough, because even if he has real feelings for you, that's just it's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow, because now he's become conditioned to the sexual relations that you guys have been having. But I still believe that if his intentions are genuine, and if he sees you as a woman he wants to truly be with, then he's at least open to trying to understand how you're feeling and trying to work with you, and seeing how you guys can navigate through this together. But also, if you feel like you've moved too fast, again, express your concerns. Express what steps may have been missed. Maybe it's about, okay, even if sex is not going to be off the table completely for right now, let's at least go through a period of time where we can do some more of the deep work to make sure we really are best for each other. We really should continue this relationship with each other. And for some of y'all, that sex too soon may have happened and you're not even in a relationship yet. You're in a situationship. And so in that scenario, listen, you damn sure can pull back if you want. Like if he hasn't even committed to you and you're having sex with him, you're not obligated to keep having sex with him. Not saying that you're obligated to keep having sex with the guy who's your boyfriend who did commit to you, but that's a very different dynamic than someone who's never given you the commitment. And so with that guy, if you have moved too fast, if you have jumped into bed too soon, listen, yes, you can take a step back. But I would still say, if your desire is to move to a relationship with him, you still need to be honest and transparent. Don't just pull back and don't say nothing, and he don't understand what the hell's going on. All right, you got to be very clear about how you're feeling and why you want to take this approach, so he understands the motive and the intention behind this, rather than just thinking you're playing games and being stupid. That's what his mind's going to say. Not that you are being stupid, but he may view it that way because he's like, what the hell's going on? So be open to talking about it, being transparent, but understand that, yes, the guy that didn't give you commitment and you had sex with him already, you tell him how you feeling about this, he might be like, listen, I ain't with it. I was just trying to have sex, so this isn't going to work. And you got to be okay with that. You got to be okay with that. Because if your aim is for something more, then the reality is that you were never going to get it just remaining to have sex with him anyway. So it's best that you let go and move on to bigger and better things than to allow yourself to remain attached to this individual who's never going to give you what you want. Do you want sex or do you want love? You probably thinking you want both. I know I want both. The ultimate goal should be to have it all. But the reality is that we have to be mindful of the decisions we make along the way that can easily derail us from receiving that healthy, loving relationship. And how we go about sex and sexual relations plays a huge role. So what we're talking about today is sex on the first date. I'm bringing back another Lost podcast episode where I break this discussion down. So take a look, watch it, but as always, watch till the end because I have an extra message to give you. I want you to answer the question below in the comment section. Do you think it's okay to have sex on the first date? What is your opinion? I want to hear from you guys and understand your perspective. Now, let's dive into this, all right? And there's several angles I want to touch on today that I feel like are very important. Now, we're going to start off with two specific angles, all right? And that's what men think about women after having sex on the first date, as well as can you have a successful relationship after having sex on the first date? Now, let's talk about men's perception of women. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, well, who the hell cares what the men think? Why are we talking about what the women think? Well, the reality is that it is rare to hear a woman take issue or judge a man after they've had sex on the first date. Not saying it doesn't exist. It can happen. But it's much more of a hot topic when we put it in the context of how men view women. And the reality is that a lot of women want to know. A lot of women are concerned about how is he going to view me? Will he judge me? Does it matter? So on and so forth. Now, let me talk about myself for a second. All right. Now, as I stand here before you or sit here before you today, I am a man of God and I have very strong spiritual views. But the reality is that I wasn't always this man of God. And I have lived a different life in the past. I have, I guess you could say, run the streets to a certain extent. I don't want you to think too poorly of me or anything like that. But, you know, I've done some things here and there. With that said, I've experienced sex on the first date. And I can tell you about me back then. Back then, I did not judge a woman because we had sex on the first date. In my opinion, it was, we're grown adults, we're doing our thing, I'm doing it with you. Why should I look at you any differently? I'm not looking at myself any differently. It's all good. To me, if I did not want to see you pass a first date, it wasn't because we had sex. It might have been because the sex was bad, all right? It might have been because I didn't see any interest in dealing with you past sex, all right? Maybe it was just a thrill of the moment, caught up in the moment, whatever you want to call it. But in no way was I judging anyone. Now, that was me then, and me now, I still won't judge you. Now, here's the thing. I'm not trying to have sex on the first date, all right? But we'll get into that a little bit later. But the reality is that I still don't judge women, and I have a lot of male friends who are the same. They don't judge women when it comes to sex and sex on the first date. But I would be wrong if I allowed you to believe that there aren't a lot of men who will judge you. All right. And there aren't a lot of men there are a lot of men who, even if they don't take issue initially with you having sex on the first date, it can become an issue later. So let me give you a quick story. I know a guy and he met this girl, you know, they hit it off and they had sex on the first night. And that actually turned into them having a relationship. And they were together for a couple years. But at this point in the story, let's say they were together for about a year. About a year. Now, some turmoil hit the relationship. And she started acting funny. They were having some rough times. And I never forget, he was talking to one of his friends or one of our friends about the situation. And I guess they were there was rumors that she may have been entertaining some guy. Not saying they were true, but I think people were just talking and making stuff up. But either way, the male friend, our friend said to him, well, you know, you did have sex with her on the first night. Like, not saying it in the context of, well, you know what you did, in the context of, you know what kind of woman you're dealing with. All right. So basically, when something went wrong in the relationship, now this action of having sex on the first date became an issue, or it planted a seed of doubt of how will this woman move, or how did this woman move in general? How quickly will she possibly cheat on me or be unloyal to me? How quickly will she deal with some other guy, whatever the case may be? Now, I'm not here to say that any of that is fair or accurate in the way they were perceiving her. I'm simply bringing light to the fact that it can cause a problem, all right? Now, should you as a woman make your decision simply based off of how men are going to perceive you? I don't think so. To me, it's a lot deeper than that. There's a lot more to consider that's more important when we talk about sex on the first date. But we still have to discuss the fact that, yes, it can have a negative impact on the way men perceive you. Now, I think in today's society, I would argue there are more men who aren't going to judge you. I would argue that there are more men who would still be willing to be in a serious relationship with you regardless of sex on the first date. I also would say that there are men who will claim such things because they want you to feel comfortable having sex on the first date, but will have no intention of being with you. I can't give you the numbers. Like, I don't know if it's 50%, 60%, whatever it is, but I know that both sides do exist. And so if you're a woman and you are trying to use this idea of how men are going to perceive you in your willingness to have sex or not on that first date, then what I would say to you is that there is a great chance it will be held against you, if not today, sometime down the line. So it's safer, if that is your concern, to hold off. Like someone once said to me, I've never heard a man say, man, I can't be with her. She didn't have sex on the first date. You know what I'm saying? Like, no one's really been discounted for a serious relationship because they didn't. But plenty of people have been knocked out the box because they did. So it's your choice, all right? But you might be thinking, well, what about these situations where the men won't judge? So we said, okay, can you have a successful relationship after having sex on the first date? Yes, it is possible. However, I would argue it is not highly likely. All right. Now, I've heard a lot of people there's a story of, I believe it's Chrissy Teigen and John Legend. And she talks about how, she wanted to have sex on the first date. So when they went on their first date, she knocked out. She wanted to make sure, I guess, they were sexually compatible, all these things. And here they are. They're married. They seem happy. Everything seems great. So again, and I've heard plenty of other people say, well, I've had sex on the first date and now I'm married to them. There are success stories. I would never argue that. However, for every one success story, I could probably show you 100 to 1,000 more failures. All right. 100 to 1,000 more people who have nothing to show for that sex on the first date. And if they do have something to show for it, it may be a baby with the wrong person. It may be a disease. It may be all kinds of other issues that came about from that decision. Now, of course, that could happen even if you waited 3 dates, 3 months, 3 years. However, the point is that giving yourself more time does work in your favor. But we'll get into that. Put a pin in that. So again, let's go back to having this successful relationship after having sex on the first date. Again, it is possible because I do feel like if two people have a genuine connection, but they happen to venture down the path of having sex, and let me make it clear, I'm not saying you should. I'm not saying it's quote unquote okay. I'm not giving you don't say Stephan is supporting the idea of having it, but I am saying that yes, it can happen. And success can still be found. But the reality is that with having sex on the first date, there are pitfalls that come with that. There are issues that you have to be very aware of. There are dangers. And a lot of times we are overlooking it because we want to use the minority success stories to define how we're going to approach it for the majority. And that is the wrong way to go about it. If I said to you that you could win the lottery 1% of the time if you invested $1,000 a month, all right? You're not going to say that's a great investment. You're not going to say that's a smart thing to do. Can some people win the lottery that way? Absolutely. But most people will lose their money. So yes, we could say 1, 3, 10% of people had sex on the first date and end up in a successful relationship. But how can you ignore the 90% who didn't? How can you not look at that and consider that in how you're going to move forward? Now, what are these specific downfalls? What are these dangers we're talking about? All right. Well, number one, emotional attachment. The reality is that there are a lot of people right now dealing with someone longer than they should have, that should have never been in their life to begin with. And it all stemmed from sexual relations. sexual relations with them too early. Now, yes, again, can this happen even if you wait? It absolutely can. But when you do it early and you have not given yourself time to figure out who you're dealing with, you're increasing the chances of something going wrong here. All right. You're increasing the chances of attaching yourself to an individual who's going to be a nightmare in your life. And so you want to at least increase the odds in your favor by giving yourself more time. Again, even if you want to say to me, but the chemistry is amazing, we were feeling it, we were into each other. What does it hurt you to wait? Like, you don't lose nothing by waiting, but you can lose so much by moving too fast. So emotional attachment, again, has created this dynamic of people being stuck. And I hate to use the word stuck because I feel like you can always walk away if you tap into that strength that you have within you. But so many people get left feeling stuck and struggle to walk away because the sex is so good. But here's the kicker. Sometimes the sex ain't even that great. Now, I know some of y'all thinking that's ridiculous. Like, why would anyone be attached to someone when the sex isn't even that great? Well, I'm going to be honest with y'all. That's less likely to happen with the guys. It can happen, but it's less likely to happen. But I've seen it happen time and time again with the women. So many women are attached to a man right now and the sex is not great. Don't be confused or don't fall for the hype a lot of people are selling. When you get people behind closed doors, you find out a lot of women are not sexually satisfied, yet they still find themselves attached to this man because they gave themselves to this man, or because they want so badly for this to work, or maybe he has other good qualities, or what. There's a myriad of reasons why they find themselves struggling to walk away, but do not assume it's just because, quote unquote, the sex is good. Either way, emotional attachment is a huge danger you have to be mindful of. Number two, that emotional attachment leads to clouded judgment. The reality is that if your goal is to have a real relationship, and I'm here not to help you have casual situations. I'm here to help you have true love, real relationships that can turn into marriage, real success. And with that being the goal, when you have sex too early, again, you diminish your ability to properly evaluate the individual. Because, again, you can get caught up emotionally. Let's just say it is good. And let's say it's amazing, but they're toxic as hell. A lot of people will overlook that toxic energy, those toxic behaviors, because they're being sexually satisfied. And because for some people that can be hard to come by, finding that person that you really feel like you really, really enjoy sexually, you now try to rationalize reasons to hold on to this individual. So your judgment is completely compromised because you move too fast. Again, you are not hurt by waiting, but you can hurt yourself immensely by moving too quick. So you've got to be honest with yourself. Can you properly evaluate this individual while still having sex with them that soon? Can you focus on what's more important, which is the connection, which is not chemistry, but again, connection, but which is shared values, which is being on the same page, which is even wanting the same things? Or will you get lost in the intimacy? Like, if we don't even know if we want the same things with each other, how are we jumping in bed with each other? That's a huge mistake. You've got to catch yourself. Again, I repeat, just because some people have been fortunate enough to be successful does not mean that is the common outcome for people. And you don't want to set yourself up for failure by thinking, well, it won't happen to you. It happens to most, all right? But in addition to clouded judgment and being able to evaluate, is this the right person for me? Can we have a real relationship? Here's something people don't think about. And that's the skewed perception that is created by having sex too early. And here's what I mean by that. A lot of people think that sexual chemistry is this thing that's either there or it's not, all right? And so they want to jump into bed very quickly because we got to see if we click. Because if we don't, then clearly this can't work. But the reality is that Sexual chemistry sometimes is a product of connection and time. Time in learning each other, time in becoming comfortable with each other. Because let me paint this picture for you. You could have a scenario where man and woman sleep together first night. And even though they both willingly engaged in sex that night, that woman may have still been uncomfortable to a certain degree about maybe this is too soon. She's overthinking. She's in her head about the situation, even though physically she's moving forward. Hell, even the man can be so overly anxious because, man, he's been lusting and wanting this woman, and now he's finally in bed with her. And that energy on both sides can lead to a poor performance. The man being overly anxious, the woman not being completely comfortable. And it leads to a sexual experience that doesn't match the true potential those two individuals could experience with each other if they had enough time to become more comfortable with each other, to I guess, more mentally be prepared for this moment, and to establish or to make sure a connection was even there to begin with. So I've seen people cut individuals off because they thought, oh, the sex was bad, this isn't gonna work. Not realizing it wasn't bad because the person is not capable. It was bad because of underlying issues. We have to understand that sometimes people need time to fully open up sexually to each other. It's not just right off the bat. On the flip side, I've seen people sleep with someone first night or first week or whatever, and let's say it was amazing, all right? And now they think they think this can last. They think, okay, well, I met this person, I like them, the sex is great, this can work. Not understanding that it's fool's gold. That initial performance, they may have been able to come with their A game, right? But here's the thing. If there's not a real connection between you two, that ability to pleasure you and to pour into your needs will not be sustainable. Because in order to be great lovers, in order to sexually please each other, we have to be selfless in bed. We have to be in tune with each other's needs, in tune with each other's bodies. And the reality is that if there is not a connection, then when that initial phase goes away, where people want to impress each other, they no longer have the motivation and desire to please you like that anymore. They don't like you enough to want to make sure you're getting what you need sexually. So you see many relationships that start off hot and heavy and they fizzle out big time. Many people who got married to someone who they thought she's a freak or he's all this, and when they got married, it went away. But it wasn't about whether you're compatible or not sexually, or whether the chemistry was there, because chemistry, again, isn't just it's there or it's not. It is a product of getting in tune with each other, time, being comfortable with each other. There's a lot of other factors that can come into play. And that initial stage, that first date or first week or whatever, sometimes it's not real. It's not what you think it is. And so you're making decisions and you're creating perceptions of this individual in this situation based off a faulty foundation. So again, what would be best if we're focusing on having real relationships and something long-term and successful, you got to focus on connection. Now, I'm not going to get into connection today in this episode because we need a whole separate episode to dive into connection. But I need you to understand that is the key to long-term sustainable sex. That is the key to truly pleasuring each other and reaching a level sexually with each other that you are not going to reach with anyone else. A lot of people don't even know what real good sex is. I'm going to tell you, some of y'all think y'all had good sex. It's not what you think it is yet. There's so much more to tap into. But all that to say, listen, at the end of the day, you're an adult. You're going to make a decision that you want to make. You're going to do what you want to do. I personally, if it's up to me, when someone asks me, is it okay to have sex on the first date? My response is, I do not think it's wise. Now, can it happen? Yes. Hell, I don't know if I'll ever slip up and it'll happen to me.
However, I mean, again, it's happened in the past, but I'm not going to judge you no matter what the action is that you take. But I am here to tell you it's not the best approach. It's not the smartest thing to do. If you want something real, if you want to set yourself up or give yourself a better chance at a successful relationship, just wait. Just wait. Allow yourself time to get to know someone. Allow yourself time to make sure you guys are on the same page, have a connection, all right? And that you have a better idea of who you're laying down with. And let me also throw this in. If this is not a person you could stand the idea of having a child with, or a person you think could be a good parent in that child's life, then don't even have the sex, man. Like, man or woman, like, yo, I see too many people laying up with individuals who become nightmare baby daddies or baby mothers. And it's like, yo, if you gave yourself time to evaluate this person, it's clear the red flags was there. It's clear they cannot be that person in your life or child's life. So if you cannot even see them as that, it's not worth laying down with them. It's not worth moving forward. We got too much dysfunction as it is. We got to clean this up. We got to start making better decisions. But again, the choice is yours. But if you're asking me, I say don't do it.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed that. Again, if you notice, I didn't really get deep into the whole spiritual side of why we should wait and why waiting is best. I'm going to make a completely different video for that. But I just wanted to discuss this topic because the reality is that a lot of people, believe it or not, has either engaged, consider engaging in it, you know, or just find themselves possibly having sex very quickly after meeting someone. So again, you just have to be honest with yourself about what you can handle, what's truly best. If you are a believer, of course, in general, I just think waiting as much as you can is the best way to go. But as I mentioned in the clip, we're human. Mistakes will be made, or some people are just going to watch this video and say, hey, you know what? I don't care. I haven't had any problems. I'm going to keep doing it. Just know what you're setting yourself up for. And if you're okay with that, you're a grown adult. You make your own decisions. But I want to give you perspective to help you navigate through this topic, through this dynamic a lot better. If he's a man, he'd probably love to have some sex. I'm just saying, that's just for a lot of guys, right? But that doesn't mean that every guy only wants you for sex. The thing is, how do you know? How can you tell the difference between the guy who's genuine and the guy who only wants you to be intimate with him? Well, I'm going to break that down for you. My name is Stephan, aka Stephan Speaks, back with another relationship and dating advice video for women. Again, we're going to be talking about the 7 signs he only wants to have sex with you. Before we begin, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that notification button, and leave your comments below. What do you think are some signs that he only wants to have sex with you? Now, listen, I know this can be a very frustrating dynamic for a lot of women. And of course, there may be some of you who say, well, that's what you want right now. And as a grown woman, if that's what you want from that guy, and you know, you guys are on the same page, that is your choice. I'm not saying I'm condoning it or supporting it. I'm saying you're grown, make your own decisions. But the reality is that many of you have found yourself in situations where you were hoping for more, and maybe that guy even tried to say or claim he wanted more, but it turned out all he wanted was to sleep with you. So I'm going to give you the signs to look out for. And as always, address the signs. I know some things you might be like, you know what, there's nothing to address. Just cut his behind off, end the story. And I get that. And I'm not saying I don't understand or embrace that to a certain extent. But I think it is best to be consistent with my message by saying always address the issue. Because there can be rare situations where there's just a misunderstanding, all right? And things can be cleared up. But let's get to it. Sign number 1, he only wants to have sex with you. He doesn't take you anywhere. Now, I know of tons of scenarios where women meet men, exchange numbers, and at the end of the day, they never go on a date. It's either come to his house or he goes to her house. Hell, I even know some situations where the only place they meet is at the hotel. All right, true story. And so that's a clear sign This man pretty much just wants to have sex with you. It's extremely rare. Again, it can happen. It can happen where there's just a guy who's not big on going out, and if you allow him to get away with not taking you out, he may not and still actually want to spend time with you and like you. But most cases, if he's not making any effort to take you anywhere, he just wants to have sex with you. And so again, this is one of those things where you've got to talk about it. If you notice that when you bring up going out, that he's always making excuses, shutting it down. And this is what happens to a lot of women, where he may agree at first, oh yeah, okay, we're going to go out next week, or we're going to do this. And it's every single time there's an excuse and a cancellation. Every single time there has to be a rescheduling. And ultimately, weeks are passing and this man has still yet to take you out. Well, yes, that is a clear sign. And again, just so you understand on a deeper level why, is because, one, he's not really trying to be seen with you. And he may not be trying to be seen with you because he doesn't want, if he's in a relationship, God forbid, he doesn't want nobody to find out and get back to his main woman, all right? He may simply not want the world to see him with you because, this sounds so bad, but this is just the honest truth. Sometimes he's not proud of dealing with you. Lord, forgive me for even saying that, but I can't just lie to you. There are some situations like that. I don't want you to jump to that conclusion, but does it happen? It does happen. When the guy's trying to hide you to that extent, that can be the case, okay? And ultimately, he's not trying to put that kind of an effort. The reality is that going out requires effort. And I will say, you have to understand that men in general typically aren't as about going out as women are, which is why, like, I've noticed in various cities and places where you go out to festivals and things like that, you'll tend to see more women there. Women love to go out. They'll go to brunch, they go to festival, they go to art, they go to all these different things. And a lot of guys like staying home, watching sports, chilling, watching TV, whatever the case may be. So there's already this thing that leads to men staying home more often than the woman. But again, when he really likes a woman, when he's serious about her, he's at least willing to. He's willing to. If you want to get out some more, he's at least willing to try to get out some more. So the fact that he's not even trying, yeah, bad sign, definitely looking like he just wants to have sex with you. Number 2 on the list is he won't clearly state his intentions. So the unfortunate reality is that it's very difficult for the average man to come out and say, I just want to have sex with you. I know a lot of y'all say, why can't men just tell us? Maybe if we want the same thing, then we can be cool and do it. Listen, if men really thought that line worked, they would use it, all right? But the fact is, it does not work in their favor in most cases. So men shy away from being that blunt and straightforward about just wanting to have sex. Now, they don't, in a lot of cases, they don't want to shoot themselves in the foot by saying the complete opposite, which is, oh yeah, I want a relationship and I'm looking for marriage, because now you're going to hold him to a higher standard of what's expected in this potential relationship. So the easiest way to kind of dodge those expectations and to keep it closer to just let's just have sex and have fun is to give no intentions whatsoever. Or to use the let's go with the flow, or why do we need to define anything? Let's just enjoy ourselves. All these vague ways of answering the question rather than just saying exactly what his intentions are. And so that has become the norm for a lot of people, all right? And again, I know some people might argue, well, what if they, you really don't know, because some women out there have said the same thing. Well, let's just go with the flow. But I would argue, even if you can say you said that as a woman and it didn't mean you only wanted to have sex with the man, typically, if that's what you said to the man, you were not convinced that you wanted a relationship with him. Or at the very least, you probably did not see the potential with him at that time. So again, even if we want to make the argument that it doesn't automatically mean he just wants to have sex, because I do think that's possible. It is possible that the man may want to hang out. There are some men, believe it or not, who just wants to enjoy a woman's company. All right. He may just want to talk, hang out, and isn't requiring sex. That is possible. So I think worst case scenario, we can say that, or another scenario is, yes, we can say that he may not see a potential in a serious relationship. But again, he doesn't want to say that flat out, because that probably leads to not even being able to hang out with you and chill with you. But to the main point, listen, if he can't give you any of his intentions, it's very probable that sex is all he's looking for out of this situation with you. Let's get to number 3. Number 3, actually, before I give you number 3, real quick plug. Actually, wrong book. I'm so sorry. Get your copy of He's Lying, Sis. Such a perfect book for this topic, right? Another best-selling book of mine is doing extremely well. It's not about bashing men, but it is about breaking down scenarios that women are going through where there is a lot of deception sometimes. It kind of helps clear that up, helps you tap into your intuition, maybe gives you that kick in the pants you needed. But either way, get your copy, click in the link in the description or in the comment section. You're going to love it. So number 3, the third sign that he only wants to have sex with you, he cancels whenever you're on your period. So listen, bottom line is this: if a man is just trying to have sexual relations, then he's not trying to hang out with you when sex is not on the table. And it's not even just he cancels when you're on your period, because some of y'all sneaky ones, well, let me not say sneaky, that's wrong for me to say that. Some of y'all did not warn him in advance that you were on your period. Not that you have to announce you're on your period, because, of course, if the assumption is you're trying to have a serious relationship, why would you be thinking you have to say that? But the point is, sometimes it's not that he got to cancel because he knew you were on your period. It's that after you told him and he was already in your presence, he's quick to leave. Or he even catches an attitude with you. All right? These are all bad signs. So cancellation, catching an attitude, quick to leave after you do let him know. All right? This is all signs of chances are he just wants to have sex. And therefore, his willingness to hang out with you outside of sex being on the table is just not there. Plain and simple. And again, that guy, he does not want to, his time is, he does not want to give you time outside of sexual relations. You know what I'm saying? Other than the preliminary, little chit chat here and there. All right, let's get to the room. Let's do it. Boom. And then he's gone. All right. So yes, if he always cancels on your period, that is a huge sign. Now, let me just say this because it's popping in my head. I don't want you to try to make up fake moments that you have your period to test a man. All right? I just don't believe in the playing games like that and lying to test. I understand the temptation. All right? I can see why you may want to try it to see how he reacts. But please, if you're going to say you're on your period, let you actually be on your period. Always remain honest and truthful. And my thing is this. A man who only wants to have sex with you, it's going to show in various ways. And we're going to continue to talk about some of the other signs, but you're going to see it in more ways than one. So you don't have to play games in order to expose if he just wants to have sex with you. So let's get to number 4. And number 4 is this conversation is always sexual. All right. So again, men who are only looking for sex don't really care to delve into deep emotional discussions and trying to figure out all your life story and all these different things. For what? It's about getting into the bedroom. And so not only is he not trying to have those types of conversations, again, he will tend to highlight sexual things when you do talk. Or he will send you the infamous penis picture. All right? You will get one of those texts because he's giving you, the penis picture is like the Batman signal, all right? When he shines that, he's telling you he's open for business, he knows what's up, or he's trying to tell you that this is what's up with him, and either you like it or you don't. Again, not saying I condone it or that men should be doing it, I'm just talking about what happens. And so the reality is that he will always lean to the sexual. When you guys have conversation, even maybe when you attempt to have deeper conversation with him, he will always find a way to bring it back to sex. And so you got to pay attention to that. Now listen, there's nothing wrong with flirting, all right, every so often. And if you as a woman have introduce sex into the conversation, then don't penalize him because now he's riding your wave, so to speak. If you started that train moving, that's a different story. But when you notice that even when you're trying to have normal conversation, this man keeps interjecting sexual things, then yes, that's clearly telling you that he is just interested in that. And you've got to say, all right, well, you know what? We don't do that here. And that's a great way to kind of check the situation, is to simply don't just jump to being offended when he does it. Address it. As I said in the very beginning, you want to address these issues before you just cut people off. Because again, some men don't know how to handle themselves properly. I'm not giving that as a cop-out, but that is a reality for some guys. And I think that there are situations where if you said to him, listen, you seem to always want to talk about sex. If you are interested in me and you're interested in anything serious, we need to be able to talk about other things. If he is genuine, then he'll respect that, and then you'll see a change in his discussions and what he wants to talk about. If he's not, he'll either dismiss it, catch an attitude, or next time you guys talk, he's still doing the same thing. So again, his desire to continue to talk about sexual things or send you sexual things is definitely a sign he just wants to have sex with you. Another sign, number five. Number 5 on the list, that he does not, he only wants to have sex with you, is that he never wants to spend the night. Now, this one is kind of one that you won't see until probably after you've had sex. So let's just say you've decided to engage in sexual relations with this man, whether you're thinking it's moving towards something serious or whatever. When you see that this man never wants to hang out past having sex, so you guys have sex, and if it's at your house, he's gone after that. Or you come over to his house, you have sex, and he tells you to get the hell on out. Maybe not in those exact words, all right? But he pretty much pushes you out the door. This is another sign of he just wants to have sex with you, because men who genuinely like you, who are serious about you, don't mind hanging out. Don't mind being in your presence beyond sex. But again, the man who only cares about that, he's not trying to be bothered with anything other than having you in those sexual moments, and that's it. So it's another sign to pay attention to if you have crossed that line of having sex. Now, it's very different if you guys aren't having sex and he never wants to spend the night. This is different because it may be he's trying to control himself or not put himself in temptation's way. So if it has been discussed that you guys aren't having sex or you're not ready for sex, and he never wants to spend the night or have you spend the night with him, then don't assume that's a bad thing. I've seen some women, quick story I have to give. Like, I remember one guy who was abstinent, all right? Meets a woman, she's abstinent too. And after a few weeks of dating, she was very mad at him because she felt like he was never affectionate, all right? And he was like, what do you want me to do? I'm trying to not have sex. If I touch you, rub up on you, if I get intimate with you in other ways, I can't handle that. So his even though this is different than not spending the night, it kind of goes together in the sense that the man who's trying to respect that boundary and also make sure he controls himself is not going to want to put himself in certain predicaments. So be mindful of that. If sex is off the table, then him not spending the night isn't a red flag. But if you guys have crossed the line of having sex, and this man, again, never spends the night or has you spend the night, then yeah, chances are he just wants you for sex. So now moving on to number 6. And number 6 is he only wants you at his convenience. Or let me rephrase that. He is only available when it's convenient to him. So I've seen tons of situations where, once again, the woman is dealing with a man who never really makes time for her, never tries to be flexible with his schedule, never tries to adjust anything at her convenience. It's always about him. Now, I will say, is it possible for a guy, and I use the word possible very loosely, is it possible for a guy to not be viewing a woman as just sex, yet still not understand the necessity for being flexible and making some adjustments for her, that is possible, all right? But again, and this is why we never take one sign as the end all be all. You evaluate the overall picture, because if he's doing everything else right, but then he struggles in this area, then we can recognize it as a genuine struggle. And we can say, all right, maybe he doesn't understand. Some guys are workaholics. Some guys don't have balance in their life to where they know how to schedule making time for work. Maybe they already have kids or whatever, and then making time for you. That is possible, and them not being just about having sex with you. And again, you'll see that in the overall picture. But outside of that, when there are multiple signs, and then we add on top of that, that he only is available to you at his convenience, then yeah, that's another sign of he just wants to have sex. Because if you notice the theme with a lot of these signs is that it's always about what's convenient to him, and it's about minimizing time outside of the sexual relations. Again, that guy's not trying to spend a bunch of time with you, whether that be physically or over the phone. He's not trying to waste time engaging in all these other activities, because to him it is a waste of time, because all he sees as a benefit here is sex. And so he's trying to, at best, limit the time to that. He might, in some cases, be willing to go to dinner and then sex, all right? But again, he ain't trying to go too far past that. Spending all day with you, all that kind of stuff, is just not as likely. So this is another sign to definitely be mindful of. But again, consider, as I said earlier, some men struggle in that area, but a man who genuinely is struggling is going to show you good things in other areas, not be consistent with the bad signs I've been listing today. And now number 7, and let me just say, I have a bonus one I have to mention, all right? But number 7 on the list of signs he only wants to have sex with you, he does not let you into his world. So what I mean by that is, you're not meeting people he knows. He doesn't tell you what's really going on with him. You don't really know anything about this man, all right? And that's because that's the way he designed it. He's trying to limit letting you too far in, because a lot of men understand that if the goal is to avoid emotional investment on both sides, you know, his desire to not invest in you emotionally, and he has no willingness to at all, but also making sure that, or limiting the chances of you getting too caught up in him, well, he has to create that barrier that says, I'm not letting you too deep in. Because if I introduce you to family, friends, if I tell you all about myself, my dreams and all this, that will convey to a lot of women that he's interested in that way. And so a lot of men who are at least not trying to make this too messy, and some of you might be saying, well, it's already messy, but the point is, he's not trying to throw mixed signals, all right? He is going to separate his world from you, and he's going to keep you outside of that. And so remember I mentioned earlier where there's some situations where the man only meets the woman at the hotel room, all right? And so, yeah, like it's consistent with the other signs. Only meets at the hotel room, doesn't take her anywhere, you know, damn sure not letting him into her world in any kind of way. You're seeing multiple signs that say, hey, this is just a sexual relationship, all right? And, you know, this may all sound despicable, and I'm not saying that some of this isn't, but this is what happens, and you have to be aware of these things, because, again, I see so many women get more caught up in their desire for the man and what they're hoping will come of this, rather than paying attention to how he's treating you. Like, I have a video on my page. You should check it out. It says, how he treats you is how he feels about you. And so a lot of women, they are blinded by their desire for the man and not seeing what his actions, behavior, his treatment is conveying to you about his true desire. And so you have to be mindful of this if you're trying to avoid the guy who only wants to have sex with you. Now, I said there's going to be a bonus, so here's the bonus. The bonus is he never commits. Plain and simple, this man who only wants to have sex, and this kind of goes hand in hand with the not stating his intentions. He's not trying to be committed to you, because In a lot of cases, not all, but in a lot of cases, if he only wants to have sex, that means he's open to having sex with other people. I'm not saying that there aren't men out there, not that you guys may view this as a good thing, but I'm not saying there aren't men out there who will find a woman that they only want for sex and actually be okay only having sex with her. That does exist, all right? I'm just explaining that it does exist. Not saying it's a great thing. It just does exist. However, in a lot of cases, when a man is only looking for sex from a woman, that means he wants his options to be open to have sex with other women too. And so with that, the last thing he's trying to do is be committed to you in a relationship. He's not trying to lock himself in. And so he's not going to want to add any kind of titles to the relationship, because now that holds him to a higher standard. And that's the whole thing. And here's something to also be mindful of, because it can get tricky. So in the book, He's Lying Sis, let me actually show it to you one more time. And it's serious talk here. There's a scenario that I lay out about, he says he doesn't want a girlfriend, but he acts like your boyfriend, all right? And so, though I mentioned all these signs that include basically men not being at your convenience, making it all about them, shutting you out their word, all these things, right? There are scenarios where a man will treat you like you're his girlfriend, will do all the lovey-dovey stuff, be all sweet, right? But he still does not want to be committed to you. And ultimately, though he may not only want to have sex with you, because yes, he may like to enjoy you in that girlfriend dynamic, he is unwilling to fully commit to you. And to be honest with you, I would argue that's an even worse situation than the guy who just wants to shut you out of his world and have sex. I'm not saying it's either one is good. I'm just saying it's worse because it sends such a huge mixed signal. It's so much easier to get caught up, confused, get your feelings hurt when he's treating you in all these nice ways, but telling you over and over, I don't want a girlfriend. I don't want a relationship. So you got to be honest with yourself about what you want. What are you okay with? As I said in the very beginning, if you want to tell me that you're okay with the sexual relationship, that is your decision as a grown adult. But if you know you don't want that and you want more, then don't allow yourself to entertain and give a free pass to the man who's showing you these signs on this list, or who is saying to you, I don't want a relationship, I don't want a girlfriend, because that is a setup for disaster every single time. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. So many women believe that men do not want commitment. I hear women all the time complaining or voicing their frustration that men don't want to commit, that they can't find men who are